Hey guys, Ron here, and I'm finally doing one of those unpopular opinion videos, because I want to. Sounds fun. I want to see if I can empathize with half of your unpopular opinions. I feel like I agree with the general consensus of Pokemon. Maybe I'm sometimes a little too positive. So I'm just gonna scroll through the replies of my Twitter post, and we're gonna see if your unpopular opinions are stupid or not. I'm basically gonna only read the ones that are actual unpopular opinions, not the ones that are like, oh, I like Unova, because, you know, nowadays people are realizing that Unova's pretty awesome. While I will read them all personally, you're only going to see the ones where I actually have an actual input to your opinion. So let's go. So Gen 1 is really bad in Pokemon standards, boring region, basic designs, and at times a confusing plot. As in, you need the Silph Scope for Lavender Town, how do you know? You get it. In terms of Pokemon standards, I guess I agree. In terms, it's really bad. It's definitely a boring region, basic. I don't think the Pokemon are too basic in designs. I think Kanto, really good Pokemon, honestly. And the plot, serviceable, like there is technically a plot, and it's minimum enough for you to enjoy your time just exploring, and not being handheld. So I agree and disagree. I get the point. It's not always black and white with this kind of Gen 1 hate or love. The answer usually is that, yeah, it's not as good as people make it out to be, but it's still honestly enjoyable, at least in the remakes. I cannot personally play through Red and Blue. An unpopular opinion I have is that you find anime Misty to be a rather overrated Pokegirl, mostly because the majority of her popularity is based on nostalgia and her being the first Pokegirl. Yeah, Misty's not my top Pokegirl either, but like, I don't think she's overrated. I think she's pretty three-dimensional. She's a character. She's not just there. She's entertaining, and she's a good role model. She's a cool character. I like her. But yeah, I definitely agree that she's not the best. She's not my personal favorite. She's not the most entertaining Pokegirl, but she's definitely a cool character. Even with all its improvements and additions, I still think that GSC are more fun to play than Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I personally don't agree with that, mostly because I never played Gold, Silver, and Crystal. And I feel like if I literally go back, I wouldn't enjoy it as much as Heart Gold and Soul Silver. And I personally don't even think Heart Gold and Soul Silver is the most enjoyable Pokemon game, personally. I usually do prefer remakes if they're literally the same but better, you know? I think this is just a personal you thing. I generally think the Gen 3 is overrated. I enjoyed it, but I felt that Team Aqua and Maxwell were really weak villains with the brainless plan, and that overall the Pokemon designs were lackluster. Definitely, I completely disagree. Now again, this is not me like jumping on the hype, because again, Gen 3 was one of those generations that didn't have that much hype. All these generations that I personally like Gen 3, 5, and 7, are now getting more praise, and people who like it are seen as people who are jumping on the bandwagon when, no, I liked it before it was even popular. I think Gen 3 is not overrated. I just think that now it's just becoming more popular. Over the span of its entire run, Gen 3 is not overrated. Team Aqua and Magma's plans are kind of misunderstood. Obviously, their actual execution of the plan is dumb, but that's kind of like every villain in the world. Like, obviously, their plan is not the good option. But like, I think the thought and their actual like goals are pretty good, especially in ORAS, where they fleshed out their motivations way more. I do not believe that there's an objective reason to say that one specific generation has overall worse designs than most generations. Everybody has the Pokemon generations that they like less, but I don't think you should always believe that you're objectively correct in a game or generation that you hate, because that will prevent you from going back and like actually being open-minded and maybe enjoying it, because again, it's a game. You don't have to enjoy it if you don't enjoy it, but you should be open-minded. You should try to, I guess, accept that you may enjoy it in the future, you know, that you may appreciate it more in the future, because that has happened to me so many times in Pokemon, where I thought, this generation is not that good, and then years later I start to gain appreciation, and then I play it again, and then I'm like, yeah, this is way better than I remember. And then sometimes it's the opposite. I just think that you shouldn't have a rigid opinion for Pokemon in general, because it doesn't matter to hate or like something, because something that you like, someone else will hate, and vice versa. But again, this is not about you or the, Sun Marie. This is just me ranting. I think that despite the handholding and other flaws of Gen 7, overall they were very good games and had story comparable to Gen 5. Not sure if this is actually unpopular, but many people seem to think that the flaws in the game outweigh the good, but I feel the games had loads of content and really good story. I really agree. I think it did push the 3DS to its limit. It's like, Yeah, definitely. It's one of the most polished Pokemon games, the Ultra Sun and Moon specifically even. The hand-holding really is the only thing that takes away from the experience. All the other things are subjective, like whether or not you like the region or the Pokemon. It's the one Pokemon game where the big flaw is the actual gameplay, but if you take away the hand-holding, that's it. It's cured. It's cured of the objective flaws. Those weren't like mistakes. I mean, there were mistakes, but they weren't like lazy choices. They were just choices that were bad. It's not like it was because Game Freak was, doing anything that was, any bad practice. It was more they decided to make it handholdy. Literally, if they just worked, like, let's say for another few weeks or month and added like a skip option for all of the handholding, wow, it's a completely different game. Everybody would love it. Here's we have the opposite. There's almost no redeeming qualities about the Alola games. Another one I have is that Unova is the best region in every way. The layout, the themes and story, the music, even the Pokemon. There are some bad Pokemon, but that happens with every region. With the Alola opinion, I cannot disagree more. That literally, you literally didn't even say what was the flaw other than the cutscenes. And if that's the only thing that makes it irredeemable, then that means it's not irredeemable. Because that's one thing, and the rest is subjective. Like you whether or not you like the Pokemon. I think the Alola Pokemon are amazing. The difficulty I thought also was amazing. I think it was personally a rather difficult game. There were a lot of trainers that had strategies. Of course, there were, it's easier to get through the routes and avoid those trainers. It's also easier they have less Pokemon, the trainers. But there are a lot of trainers that actually use strategy. There's a lot of veterans and age trainers. There's a lot of boss battles, the kahunas, the totems. All these special battles were actually above average in difficulty, in my opinion. Especially if you don't use the EXP Share, you don't grind. And I personally even just went through a set mode run. One of my most favorite playthroughs. And I think the world of Alola is one of the best and most polished Pokemon games. You can totally dislike everything, but I don't think it's correct to say that there were objective problems with the world, other than it's less dynamic. The routes are less dynamic, less depth and paths to the routes. They're way more linear. But in terms of Unova, completely agree. The Ultra Beasts are fun and cool Pokemon designs, bearing their concept in mind, and I immediately write off people who say the Ultra Beasts are bad designs, they don't look like Pokemon, as less intelligent in my mind. I mean, okay, I disagree with the less intelligent thing, but I agree with the fact that, yeah, they're not bad. They're really good designs in my opinion. They definitely were executed really well for what they were supposed to be. Alien beasts that look different, they don't look like normal Pokemon in our world. Yeah, I agree. I don't like competitive Pokemon battling and breeding. No Pokemon should just throw away or box forever or abandon just because it doesn't have the right EVs or IVs, is not the right nature. Well, here's the thing. You're playing a different game if you're playing casual or competitive. So in the game of competitive, in the meta game, you don't have to box your Pokemon if you don't want to in casual play or even in competitive. I personally also, I don't play competitive Pokemon battling, or I don't breed, so I technically don't like competitive battling and breeding, so I agree with you, but not for that reason. I just don't have fun with it. That's it. Kalos is a damn good region. Even if the progression is linear, there's a lot to explore in the routes and caves, and there's some optional areas too. Plus, a lot of the town cities are aesthetically pleasing. Laver and Anastar come to mind. I agree. I took Kalos for granted for a long time just because I don't like X and Y as much as the other Pokemon games. I still love it. X and Y have flaws. One of them is in Kalos itself. The Kalos region is very beautiful, and the route design is underrated for Kalos routes and even towns. I find no flaw in Kalos itself, so I agree. Heart Silver has become borderline unplayable to me as the years go on. The horrible stagnation of the level curve once you leave Ecruteak just makes the game unbelievably boring and just not really fun. I agree slightly. Heart Gold Silver are not the most enjoyable Pokemon games to me, and they're relatively boring, honestly, for me. I still believe that they have everything Pokemon games should have. They're really top quality Pokemon games, probably the best in terms of quality, but it's just not fun as much as other regions to traverse. I don't love Johto as much as other people do. It's not borderline unplayable, it's just less fun to me. It's just the trainers aren't fun to battle in Johto. I don't remember any really fun, just random trainer encounters in routes and locations other than, boss battles. The boss battles were amazing. I think, the champion and red, all the remasters of the gym leaders, those were really fun. But just, there are a lot of other regions like Alola where random trainers in routes were tough and were memorable, but not for me in Johto. Friendly rivals aren't bad if they have a solid character arc, and rivals don't have to be assholes to be good rivals. Hugh and Barry, although aren't necessarily friendly rivals, are excellent examples of good non-hassle rivals. I agree. That's exactly my opinion, honestly. And yeah, that's rather unpopular. I feel like a lot of people want, butthead rivals and cocky rivals, and I don't care as long as they have a really good character arc. Not all of them have good character arcs, but a lot of the friendly ones do. Usu are the best games in the series. Gen 7 is criminally underrated. So, while I don't think they're literally the best, they're in my top 3, and so I can't disagree that they are criminally underrated. You literally add the option to skip the cutscenes, and you keep the Mother Beast, Lucamine resolution. It's one of the best Pokemon games in my opinion. Unpopular opinion, Gen 5 is the worst generation to date. You're pretty crazy. Nope. Actually, most of the Sword and Shield's popular flaws were present in most older games aside from the dex cut. I agree, honestly. I think one of the Sword and Shield's biggest flaws is the route design, and that does not exist in most other Pokemon games. It has the most linear route design for most of the routes. And then yeah, almost every other flaw that I can think of other than the dex cut does exist in other Pokemon games, but I think that's the problem people are having, that they are assuming that this was going to be the game that Game Freak would finally step up. I just personally understand the pattern that the first game on a console that Game Freak ever makes is usually not as good as the second game. Personally, I usually enjoy the second generation on a console that they make, like Generation 7, Generation 5, technically Generation 3 because it's still on the Game Boy. Usum's one of the best Pokemon games, period. I agree. Sevi Island's postgame is good, but kind of overrated. I think it's justly rated. ORAS is one of the best stories in the series. Not the best plot, but pretty good story. Difference between story and plot. Plot is what happens on screen, the actual stuff that takes place, the events that take place throughout the gameplay. Story is all the things that contribute to the plot, all the things that contribute to the story of the region. It could be things that happened in the past, it could be things that, it could be world building. ORAS has really good story, one of the best stories in my opinion. Really good region, really good characters. Battle Tree is good and addicting, I don't agree, but that's mostly because I just didn't play it enough. Diamond and Pearl are not that good. I agree, they're not that good. They're still good. Doug Trio sucks, I don't agree. Generation 1's Pokedex is actually one of the best in the entire series. The designs are perfect for creating the foundation of what Pokemon look like. I agree. They're not, to me they're like slightly above average. Like they're not the best Pokedex in my opinion. It's just really good Pokemon designs. When you think of Pokemon, yeah, you think of Generation 5. Generation 1. I think apparently of Generation 5 because of that Freudian slip. Yeah, I agree. Sceptile's overrated. I disagree. When I was growing up, Sceptile was the one that nobody picked. And for some reason, I literally don't know why, people are nowadays are acting like Sceptile was always very popular. Like, people are always picking Blaziken and Swampert. So I don't get what's going on here. Why are people thinking that like Sceptile is like so beloved? It's probably because of the anime, but like even then, like while also legendaries are cool in their own way, I wish we got more non-dragon ones. Yeah, totally agree. There's literally nothing wrong with that opinion. Pokemon X and Y get too much hate. I played it and it was perfect. It wasn't too easy, it wasn't too difficult. It's my second favorite generation after fourth. I definitely agree that they get too much hate, but I don't agree that they're underrated. I believe Colossal is maybe underrated, but not the X and Y games. I played them and they were perfect. I don't agree. There's literally no Pokemon game is perfect, and they're far from the most perfect Pokemon game. They're really good at introducing someone to the franchise. I think they're really good first games for anybody. Even when I played it with EXP Share, it wasn't too completely hard, unless I encountered Furfrou. Furfrous are always tough in any Pokemon game for some reason. I guess without EXP Share, it's not too easy and it's not too hard. Simisage looks cute, y'all just bandwagoners about it. Simisage is relatively more appealing than the other Simis, so I would agree. If I was to train a Simi, it would be Simisage. But I'm biased, I like green. But let's go R-Style as the R-Style all future Pokemon games should be in. Pokemon was Chibi up until Gen 7, and Let's Go captured both quality graphics and the Chibi art style. I agree with everything except for that it should be the aesthetic for all Pokemon games. Why not just have a better version of what Sword and Shield looks like? Just because Sword and Shield is not your cup of tea in terms of aesthetics doesn't mean that it can't be fleshed out and made better. Because I feel like that's a common opinion. People think that it could be better without having to go back to Chibi. There are amazing Pokemon. There are amazing just games in general that aren't Chibi and look amazing. I still think Sword and Shield looks like a Pokemon game in my opinion. It was a natural progression from Generation 7. I don't know why people are acting like Generation 7 looks like a better Gen 6. I'm sorry, like nothing about it is realistic. It still looks like Pokemon to me. I personally don't get the opinion that Generation 7 and onward doesn't look like Pokemon, or the art style of Generation 7 isn't good, because I love the art style of Generation 7. But I do agree that the Let's Go art style is very appealing and very good. It's just because one art style looks good doesn't mean that the rest, the other contemporary art styles didn't look good. Miloticstock's worst Pokemon, you're an idiot. Trubbish is a good design, and I'd like a few more Objectmon, I'm assuming is what he's typing. Yeah, I think Trubbish is not a bad design. I don't think it's a objectively good design. It's just a design. It's a Pokemon design. It works for what it is. I personally think Garbodor is a good design, honestly. Trubbish is exactly what it's supposed to be. And then if that's the definition of a good design, it's a good design. I personally am not a huge fan of Objectmon unless, but when they pull off an Objectmon, I am a big fan, Chandelure. I even like Vanillite a lot. The Island Trials are better than Gym Challenge. I 100% agree in my opinion. Not that the trials themselves, but the Totem Pokemon battles are way more fun, in my opinion. Way more challenging than the gym battles. I lost to almost every Totem, even in my second playthrough of Ultra Sun and Moon. While Gym Challenge, when do I lose to a gym battle? Once every 3 years. I don't know. Contests were the best part of Gen 3. I mean, I personally just disagree, but I think contests are underrated. X and Y were better than Diamond and Pearl. I think in my opinion, they're like really close in my rating, so I will agree. I won't agree, but I'll say that they're almost the same in my enjoyment, at least. Hey, You Pikachu deserves a remake more than Diamond and Pearl. I don't agree. Kanto didn't make Johto better. Johto made Kanto better. I think that Kanto made Johto better, and that I think both of them made each other better, honestly. Like, they made each other complete, honestly. Barbaracle has a great design and badass name. I 100% agree, honestly. I'm a fan of Barbaracle. Green shinies are cool and overhated, in my opinion. I'd much rather have a bad green shiny over a shiny that barely changes. Up 100%. I hate Mega Evolutions. There's stuff I agree and stuff I disagree. I hate I personally don't hate Mega Evolutions, but it's definitely an unpopular opinion. Most of them are Pokemon that didn't need them. I agree that, yeah, most of them were already strong Pokemon and very popular. But I mean, that's what they wanted to do, I guess. It's just what they wanted to do. And yeah, a lot of Pokemon that deserved them didn't get them. Just because something didn't happen doesn't mean the thing that did happen was bad. You mentioned that the designs were over-designed. When you design something, it has to be appropriate for the concept. If the concept is that it's supposed to be over-designed, like Mega Evolutions, which are supposed to be over-designed, then it's not over-designed. Some of them are maybe under-designed in Mega Evolutions. But Mega Evolutions were supposed to be over the top, and therefore it's not over-designed. New Pokemon games are not bad. Older fans are just salty because new releases don't excite them as they did when they were young, so they look for any excuse to hate on them. I don't think it's as black and white as you make it out to be. I don't think new Pokemon games are bad. There's just a lot of practices that are bad. That are implemented in new Pokemon games. There are examples of this. It's not like these type of fans don't exist, but I don't think it's the majority. I agree that it's like, I 20% agree. I think this is 20% of the problem, not like the big problem with, older Pokemon fans. Generation 1 is the pinnacle of Pokemon design. I don't agree at all. Generation 1 Pokemon are awesome, but I think all the later Pokemon are awesome and their concepts are better. Sinnoh and Colossal are terribly annoying regions. The Pokemon are great. I dare say both regions offer top tier mons, but what I'm talking about is the geography and infrastructure of these regions. Horrendous and tedious. Okay, I definitely agree that Sinnoh is very annoying to traverse. Yeah, I really like Sinnoh as like a region to look at, and the structures and the route design, but with the HMs, it's the worst. Sinnoh is the worst to traverse. And then Kalos, while again I love the route designs, I love the towns, I love how they look, and I love the designs, there are a lot of routes where it's just annoying to get through. Sinnoh and Kalos are pretty comparable, so this is kind of based. This is not a terrible take. It's not terribly annoying, it's just annoying. Like the riding Pokemon in Kalos wasn't fun. Unknown is cool as heck. Thinking of it as a Pokemon with 28 forms is a disservice. It's a mysterious hive mind race. I agree. I've always liked Unknown. I never agreed with the dislike just because they're not, useful in battle. Like, just because they're not as useful as other Pokemon, like, why not have them? They're a cool concept. Why not have them? Why not let them exist and not be mad at their existence, Difficulty options that only adjust opponents' levels would not be enough to solve Pokemon's difficulty problem. I 100% agree. The amount of Pokemon, the actual strategies that they employ, like bringing it back to Generation 7, there were a lot of veteran battles. There were a lot of double battles where the Pokemon would complement each other, and there was actual strategy, like even in Totem Pokemon battles where there's strategy that the Totem Pokemon are employing. One Pokemon setting up, or another Pokemon buffing the other Pokemon. It's just, that's what makes Pokemon difficult. I prefer Pokemon not following me. I mean, it's an unpopular opinion, but there was nothing objective that you were saying. You just said it personally appeals to you less. That's it. Gen 7, that's it, that's the tweet. I think you can tell I agree with that based on the last tens of minutes. The dex cut is a good thing, so people experience a variety of Pokemon instead of using the same ones over and over. You don't have to have a dex cut to facilitate that. Like, you can just limit trading until the post game or something like that. It's not the best solution for that outcome, and it's not, you know, an objective. It's not a black and white situation where it's not like all bad and all good. Playing on Switch mode is for children. Only children say things are for children. I agree that set mode should be what adults play as, honestly, if they complain about difficulty. Once I played in set mode, whenever I replay a Pokemon game, it's gonna be in set mode nowadays because it's way more fun. I don't agree that Switch mode is immature, but goddamn, is it the solution to a lot of people's problems. Pikachu isn't that cute and deserves none of the special privileges it has gotten over the years. I don't agree. Like, Pikachu is kind of objectively cute based on all human artistic logic, and based on literally human evolution. Pikachu is objectively cute. Again, based on just the laws of psychology and the rules of capitalism, Pikachu is the best mascot. Hoenn is pretty terrible. IGN got a lot of flack for the too much water thing, but they're not wrong. Surfing is annoying AF with random encounters, and there's a million water HMs too. I disagree. I really love Hoenn. I'm biased again. It's my first region, but it's not nostalgic to me, Hoenn, anymore, because I've played it so much. And when I think of it objectively and when I replay it, Hoenn is awesome. Especially in ORAS, surfing is not annoying. I don't see any problem other than the HMs. Yeah, there are too many HMs in ORAS. In Hoenn in general, I agree. Hoenn and Sinnoh, too many HMs. The new integrated EXP Share single-handedly ruined the Pokemon games. I think it's an objective flaw. There's literally no reason to not give us an option to turn off the EXP Share in Generation 8. So I agree, but I don't agree that it's the single-handedly what ruined Pokemon games. But it is single-handedly what changed the dynamic of how you play Pokemon. Again, I don't agree with the extremeness of the opinion, but there's something to it. Colossal was a waste of potential. We could have had a cool trained Pokemon, and a positive to counterbalance. People sleep too much on Centiskorch. I agree with both. Colossal isn't a terrible Pokemon, but yeah, waste of potential. Could have had a cool trained Pokemon. I really like his Gigantamax form, and honestly, G-Max form is like his G-Max form. If that was like his normal form, that's like a 9 out of 10 Pokemon for me. But normal Colossal is like a 6 out of 10. Centiskorch, I love Centiskorch. So yeah, Black and White story is not as good as people rave about it. I don't disagree. It's not objectively an amazing story. It's just the best Pokemon story, in my opinion. Like, the execution wasn't perfect, but again, it's just like the execution was better than any Pokemon game. Team Galactic was honestly one of the dullest evil teams in the franchise. I agree. I liked Cyrus, but the actual Team Galactic itself, I think, is the worst. They're my least. Okay, now Team Flare is worse, but Team Galactic is way overrated as a team. The grunts are boring. There's no point to the grunts. They're just like they're in a cult and that's it. Like, they don't do anything. They don't have any goals. They just follow Cyrus. Their designs are terrible. Their goal is terrible. I don't care about Team Galactic. There's nothing wrong with humanoid starters. There's nothing wrong with bipedal starters. And there's nothing wrong with a starter, yeah, that is humanoid. I love Pokemon with personality. I think every Pokemon should have a set personality. I don't think any Pokemon should have a human personality, like Spy or Soccer Player. You can have a soccer playing Pokemon. You can have a espionage Pokemon, but the personality should not be a human personality. Like, Inteleon's personality should have been more like sneaky. It shouldn't have been Spy, because Spy is a human thing. I mean, I love Cinderace, but its personality should not be Soccer Player. It should be energetic. And, it's closer. It's close to that. So it's not a fail, in my opinion. While Rillaboom, its personality is drummer, but that's kind of what gorillas are. Maybe it's hypocritical, but like, Greninja pulls it off. I think Greninja pulls off Ninja, which is a human attribute, because his like face is very non-humanoid, and its stance is very non-humanoid. Like, they can have a human personality if they're not humanoid. Greninja is not humanoid at all. It looks like a frog, so that's cool. But Inteleon, very humanoid, and it has a humanoid personality. So that's the difference. You can't look humanoid and have a human personality. Univa's not underrated. Not nowadays, but it used to be. It used to be really underrated. It used to be like the most hated region when it's amazing. I don't care about how I get mythicals. I don't agree. I think how you get a Pokemon is very magical sometimes. It should be part of the game. It should be gameplay. Well, thank you for joining me. If you want to see this, some more of this, let me know. Just make sure to watch the video and share and like and all that. Subscribe if you enjoyed, and check the description for all the music I use, the t-shirts I made for you guys, and my Patreon, where you can get cool rewards like seeing my videos days early, or click the join button for the same rewards. Make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, where I post a lot of my art. And bye.